can question Gen Zs all we want and ask them where they were and why they didn't show up for voting, and actually challenge them to take up their voters card, because that is when and how it truly matters and how we change this country. However, we're not going to burden them with the responsibility of liberating this nation, because that belongs to the Gen Z generations. We have to critically analyze how the other generations are voting. Where are the millennials, where are the boomers? Before we can start saying, oh, Gen Z mulikuwa wapi, kwa nini hamkushow up kuvote? Excuse me? Responsibility ya ku drain the swamp na responsibility ya ku restore this country to what we know it to be and the potential that it has belongs to all of us. All of us have a responsibility, so we each look at kwanza tujiangalie sisi. Wewe ulifanya nini? How are you conditioning your mind and educating yourself to see what this regime has done and not done, and how are you preparing to vote in 2027? Okay.
Kenyan Gen Zs wanataka change. They talk about it, they tweet about it, and even protest about it. But if you kuja kwa elections, things seem to be different. A case study is the reason concluded by elections. A survey by Odipo Dev na Tribal Institute ilionyesha kwamba 42% of Gen Zs hange vote because they were not registered as voters. 20% feel their votes doesn't make a difference, na 17% believe the electoral process is not credible. Sasa tuingie 2027. The same survey inaonyesha 7 in every 10 Gen Zs plan to vote, but there's a problem. They don't trust the electoral process. Kitu nafanya pia they don't register as voters. By 2027 kutakuwa na over 14 million Gen Zs eligible to vote. That's according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics based on the 2019 census. Na youth aged between 18 and 34 watakuwa around 17.8 million. Of course, that's a big number that can decide the election outcome. And so, do you think Gen Zs will take advantage of their massive numbers, register as voters, and vote for the leaders they want?
You know, one thing I've learned is to actually examine everything and give a true perspective, and that will always help you. You know, at some point in your life you will realize that just being straightforward and saying it as it is itakusaidia. And today I'm not going to break that rule. I'm going to tell you as it is. There is no more useless political group in this country than Gen Z. To be honest, the most, you know, the biggest resource and the most useless is Gen Z. First is Gen Z, then MPs. You count in that order. Gen Zs, then MPs. Gen Zs because, one, they don't have any impact on the politics of the country, because they don't know how to have the impact. The only way to have political impact in any country that is running on a democratic process is to have a voter's card or be a registered voter. Gen Zs don't vote. We have already established. We had by elections the other day. They were busy threatening somebody. They are saying, oh, your people lose. The guy won. Now, you kind of have to look at the Gen Zs to realize why it is they are the weakest group. We are not going to come, as we, you know, the older people, as we are used to an evidentiary process where I come with facts to present why I'm saying Gen Z are the most useless. First, decision making. When it comes to political decision making, you saw in 2022, Gen Zs wanapenda peremende, wanapenda uongo. A guy came, told them he's going to remove dynasties, he's going to go bottom to up, I don't know what. They were not able to examine that person's history, whether or not he has a history of meeting his promises. All they were interested in is this thing they have been thrown, dynasty baya. I remember Gen Z shouting at me, najua nyinyi watu ni millennials, millennials are to blame for everything. Millennials, you people, you just want the dynasties. Huyo mtu anakwambia dynasty, you didn't research to see that is also a dynasty. No, because this is a very young country, 60 something years old. This country, anybody that's 60 years old and above could have lived when it was not independent. All the wealth was divided in that time. Sasa mtu amekuwa rich tangu 1990, amekuwa tajiri handling millions since 1991. Anakuja anakuambia yeye si dynasty. Wewe huko umezaliwa, you know the facts, but unasema dynasty baya, trinkets, sweets, lies. Hiyo ndio Genz wanapenda. Kuja wakashikwa na watu wa NGO. Watu wa NGO wakatime juu kulikuwa na finance bill yenye hao watu wa NGO, the people who back them, who are like the IMFs and whatever, hao ndo walienda wakatengeneza hiyo finance bill ndio wasetiu jamaa against. Unajua yeye alikuwa mgeni kama president, but because yeye pia ni anapiga makona, akapatana na pwaguzi huko nje akampatia finance bill ya kuja kumkosanisha na raia. NGOs wakaruka ndani. There was nothing like organic. Si watu walikuwa wanaongea kwa mitandao, wanasema nini, wana print t-shirt, wanafanya nini, wanachanga. That is organized. Wale watu walitokea, sijui kina mama fulani hapa Msomali amekataa kuolewa na watu wengine fulani who you know their roots are in the NGO market. Walitokea tu social media, wakashika Genz wakaingiza kwa shimo. Genz wakashindwa kuexplainia wananchi, mkiingia mnaeka nani kama president? Oh no, I just want the end. Agwambo akasimama just one afternoon, Genz kaisha. Sure. Then I realize, hii ni moto ya karatasi imewashwa pale. Hii ni ile gas ya Fanta. Ukishafanya imeisha, you just drink the soda. So now this miraculous Genz wenye already their track record is poor in politics, they are always on the losing side. When Raila Odinga lost lives, he brought the new constitution. When he lost lives, Moi was kicked out of power with his minions. But you are losing lives, and the only thing you are remaining with hizi michango za kipuzi hapa za TikTok zenye hazita tupeleka mahali. To be honest, the only way you change a country is by holding state power. Ona sasa Ruto ametoa 3000 atakuwa anapea elders. Juzi time ya election wali realize watu wako na kura ni watu wazee. So elders wenye wanasaidianga machifu huko kwenu, wale watu kesi wale watu waka chini ya mti, 3000 per month, 108,000 of them watu wanapata tauta. Hiyo nimepiga hesabu ni kama 318 million per month, pesa ya serikali yenye politician hawezi kuwa nayo kupeana. You see, the impact of state resources will always be what is felt on the ground. Hizi asira zenu atinyia msikizangi, we do things our way, leaderless, formless, bloodless, spineless, kila kitu less. My friend, you have to reach a point where you make a decision. Mwende mchukue kura, mpige kura, mweke huyo Genz wenu mnasema ako perfect. Otherwise you are wasting our time. Ningesema ni kama mshuto. Because a Genz is somebody who is assuming that already politically ako mbele, akiwa nyuma ya class. They are not at the front of the class, they are at the back just shouting. Ukiwauliza, who is your member of parliament? They don't know. Who is your MCA? They don't know. What is the role of an MCA? Kuna ngombe ingine hapa senator Genz imepata kazi juzi. Ngombe yenyewe haijui hata kazi ya senator. You think a senator is to go and bring maendeleo? The senator is a watchdog for the people. You don't understand the role of the House of the Senate. The Senate is to check the functions of the counties. The Senate is to check the functions of government departments. Hao ndio wanaamua. Unajua parliament ndio wanapeana budget na ndio wako na committees za kuran pesa ile parliament hii ndogo. The Senate ndio baba yao. Yeye anafaa kuuliza mbona huyu senator ako kazi, yani huyu governor ako kazi na ako impeached. Mbona ile hospitali iko na pesa zetu za county haifanyi? But now people are confused. They just think kazi yao ni maendeleo, so ni kwenda kutafuta bribes na vitu hazi make sense. The only way to have impact is to hold state power and understand how it functions. Kuja kunidanganya hapa ati tuko formless, bibyless. Nikiangalia pesa wenye wako nazo ni watu wa NGO, wenye wanakuwa funded ni watu wa NGO. Formless, leaderless gani? Hiyo iko na leadership ni waoga. They don't want to you see, they know very well hii deal wameingia juu ya pesa za majuu. Pesa zinatoka foreign lands. The money that comes from the foreign lands is what is making them be who they are. They know very well. So they will never accept the responsibility of taking care of a country. Watu wenye wanachukua hiyo responsibility ni hawa mafisadi, because they know the power of state, the power, the full influence that you can have with state power. They know it. Unaingia Central Bank unajigawia pesa. Ona elders ndio hao tatu. Aliona hii kuwaita Statehouse kuwapea pesa imekuwa monotonous. Pesa ina, so let him go through the, you see, state power. If you were Genz, mungepea majenzi hiyo tatu wafanye biashara or whatever. But here you are, watu wamepewa 50k, watu karibu watu kadhaa. Kuna watu wengine hapa naona wamepatiwa hiyo 3000, kuna wengine wamepatiwa nyumba. But the time you unravel this corruption, you are gone. These people, all of them washakula. They'll not understand why you are saying ndio affordable housing ni mzuri, but under what process, under what ownership. Genz, don't just say you are a Gen Z. Tell us what you have done. What have you done for the country? Going to the street, that's not enough. Build something I can see with my eyes, or explain to me a new idea I can use, and go take a fucking vote. We nini wewe?
To the Gen Z specifically, this is your opportunity to acquire the most powerful weapon in the whole democratic universe, a voter's card. Alongside the national identity and maybe the Kenyan passport, a voter's card constitutes the most consequential possession of any citizen. A voter's card is the one true equalizer. It has exactly the same value for each citizen, regardless their status in society. A voter's card carries the same weighty value in the hands of a poor man as it does on the laps of the wealthy. An 18-year-old and an 89-year-old are equals when it comes to the voter's card. The president and the peasant become peers when holding their respective voter's cards. So, to the Gen Z, especially they that so proudly carried Kenyan flags at the peaceful beginning of their protests on the 18th of June last year, here comes your moment. If you are 18 and above, and you are a Gen Z, don't let this moment pass. A voter's card is the most lethal peacetime weapon any civilian can possess in a democracy, or even an aspiring democracy like
Ati black chocolate ni fine melanin bana kutoka nikapate. Kanapenda kenye mi wanapenda, so kanapenda toto chupa na hali ya nono.
Madam na kudai, umedunga mini na unapenda mangwai. Una dance fit, unawacha nikismile. Ama niko high, jua lies, nice.
Kono moja mbele, gine yende rembe, baila